Starting off this countdown, we have the Night Hag. The Night Hag, or the Old Hag, is probably one of the most well-known demons or entities associated with sleep paralysis. Canadian and American folklore describe the Night Hag as being a negative, dark shadow figure of an old woman. In the middle of the night, she will sit on the chest of her victim. The person is then forced to lay there unable to move until the Old Hag decides she's had enough fun tormenting her victim. In other cultures, it's believed that the hag is a demon that is summoned by black magic. It is then sent to people who have wronged another. When the night hag greets them in their sleep, they just lay there reflecting on their sins. Whereas other people believe that these demons are latched onto specific homes, and they will terrorize any of the guests that live there and feed off of their energy. Either way, all of the stories surrounding the Old Hag are terrifying. Moving on to number 4, we have the Samatuadori. Chances are I pronounced that wrong, please don't come for me in the comments. But also, if you're liking this video so far, then why don't you smash that like button because it really helps us out. Anyways, in Sardinia, there's an old legend about a demonic sleep paralysis being called Samatuadori. It preys on sleeping victims, suffocates them, and even sometimes rips their skin with its nails. He also has complete control over his victims' dreams. In fact, in some parts of the island, it's said that this demon wears 7 red caps on his head. If the victim can manage to resist the pain and steal one of his caps, then he will find hidden treasure as a reward. Now, the name itself means the one who silences, which is fitting because he can cause suffocation, and you'll be laying there trying to scream or speak, but you won't be able to. In our third spot, we have Batibat. In Tagalog, Batibat is described as being a huge old fat woman that lives in trees. When her tree is cut down and used in the construction of houses, the homeowners will then be haunted by this demon. They will attack when you're sleeping and sit on the person's chest until they suffocate. In fact, this demon has been blamed for sudden arrhythmic death syndrome, basically a sudden unexpected death in adolescents and adults during their sleep. So if someone did sadly pass away in their sleep, they thought that the demon had gotten to them and suffocated them. Now, it's believed that in order to ward off the Batibat, you need to bite your own thumb or wiggle your own toes. This will wake you up from the nightmare that was induced by this demon. Now, if you've watched The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix, chances are you've seen that weird messed up dream episode. You know, where the demon goes around giving everyone those terrifying dreams that they're stuck in and can't wake up from? Yeah, that demon was Batibat. Although they didn't make her as plump as she normally is depicted as. Moving on to number 2, we have Incubus. The Incubus is a male demon that preys on young women in their sleep. He visits them in their dreams and tries to engage in sexual activity with them. One of his goals is to impregnate the women, who then will give birth to its demon baby. It's really messed up. So it will hop on top of its victim and hold them down while they try to do sexual things with them. But here's the thing. According to a number of cultures and folklore, it's believed that if you interact with the Incubus demon too often, then it can make you ill or even kill you. Real people have apparently also encountered this demon. One lady shared the time that she fell asleep and started to feel someone kissing her lips. When she opened her eyes, she saw this blurry silhouette of a demon on her. No matter what she did, she couldn't get this demon off of her. She believes that that was her encounter with the Incubus demon. So the word incubus comes from the Latin incubus, meaning nightmare, and incubare, meaning to lie upon or weigh upon. In fact, sleep paralysis is widely considered to be the work of the incubus and succubus demons. One of the earliest mentions of incubus comes from Mesopotamia, but under the name Lilu. During the night, Lilu would disturb and seduce women in their sleep. Additionally, in Scandinavian folklore, they believe that Mara, who I may be talking about soon, is related to the incubi and succubi. Another fun fact, apparently researchers found that over 1 in 10 people will experience the incubus phenomenon sometime in their lifetime. Students especially have a 41% chance of encountering this nighttime demon, probably from the stress school puts them under. So if you haven't been visited by this one yet in your sleep, you better watch out. It could be coming for you. And And in our number 1 spot today we have Mara. In Old Norse, Mara is a demon that would sneak into people's rooms at night and sit down on their bodies. By doing so, it would plague their mind with bad dreams. Mara was also sometimes referred to as Mora or mares, which comes from the word nightmares. Whoever gets visited by this demon would wake up unable to move with this heavy feeling in their chest from Mara resting on them. It was also believed that witches could send Mara to anyone they wanted to torment. According to one story, a Norwegian king was sent one night and the demon crushed his legs and then proceeded to press down on his head and kill him. The first written record of this demon was in the 13th century, but it's believed that it's considerably older. In Slav mythology, Mara is a dark spirit that takes form as a beautiful woman who preys on men. She is known to torture them and then suck the life out of them. Now, there are a number of things people believed would prevent Mara from visiting them in their sleep, like plugging the keyholes in their doors. It's thought that this demon would sneak in through the keyholes, so by blocking them, it would block the demon from coming in. In German folklore, they used to repeat a prayer before bed to try and ward her off. Translated into English, it goes as so: "Here I am lying down to sleep. No nightmare shall plague me, until they have swam through all the waters that flow upon the earth, and counted all stars that appear in the skies. Thus help me God Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen."
Coming in at number 5, we have the Ferryman. The Ferryman is an antagonist in the Conjuring franchise, specifically appearing in the 2019 film Annabelle Comes Home. Directed by Gary Doberman, the movie follows Judy and her babysitter who were left alone in their house after her parents, Ed and Lorraine Warren, leave to investigate a case. However, an unexpected guest sets Annabelle free, unleashing demonic activity in the house. Now, some backstory to this new character. The Ferryman was first investigated by demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren after the death of a young girl by its hands. They interviewed those affected by the demon, who told them that the ferryman demanded a toll, or else it would take the souls of the departed. Ed and Lorraine were able to collect coins from corpses that were cursed by the entity, and had them blessed and locked away in their museum. However, in Annabelle Comes Home, things take a turn for the worse when the Warrens' daughter accidentally sets the demon loose, drawing energy and bringing the ferryman and other spirits to its aid. And honestly, the ferryman is just downright terrifying. Coming in at number 4, Annabelle. Annabelle the doll, or more specifically the Annabelle demon, is the secondary antagonist of the Conjuring franchise, and also serves as the main antagonist of Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, and Annabelle Comes Home. This is a powerful demonic entity that, despite being able to exist independent, frequently latches onto a porcelain doll to torment those who own it. It is also one of the artifacts taken by Ed and Lorraine Warren during one of their cases. Annabelle is actually considered to be their most dangerous and haunted item, and has a habit of moving around unseen. According to the films, it is said that the doll first became possessed after a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins died from an intended murder. Although she is said to possess the spirit of an actual girl, many demonologists think that it is, in fact, more of an evil spirit than a demon. Annabelle is unbelievably scary, but what is worse is the demon that follows it around. Now, its true demonic form was portrayed by Joseph Becerra, who also portrayed Bathsheba, someone we're going to discuss a little later on. Outside of the Conjuring universe, Annabelle is also mentioned in The Curse of La Llorona. When Ana Tate Garcia goes to ask advice from Father Perez on how to rid her family of La Llorona's curse, he explains that he previously did not believe in the supernatural until he had a run-in with a doll. The movie then flashes back to Annabelle's attack on him. So is The Curse of La Llorona also in the Conjuring universe? That's my question. Am I late to the game? Does everyone know this? I don't know, I don't care. Coming in at number 3, we have the Crooked Man. To quote the lyrics of this creepy nursery rhyme, "There was a crooked man, and he walked a crooked mile. He found a crooked sixpence upon a crooked stile. He bought a crooked cat, which caught a crooked mouse, and they all lived together in a little crooked house." It's my favourite song. The Crooked Man appears in The Conjuring 2 along with another notable demon that we will be discussing a little later on. He is the spirit from the eponymous English nursery rhyme and is a maniacal, lanky, crooked man who torments the young son of the Hodgson's family. The Crooked Man is also an upcoming horror movie and the 9th installment in the Conjuring universe. In September 2018, it was announced that the movie was in the scripting process and that the studio intends to wait until the story is fully developed before production will begin. And honestly, I for one cannot wait, because The Crooked Man was arguably the best part of The Conjuring 2. Quote me on that. Coming in at number 2, Bathsheba. Bathsheba Sherman is the main antagonist of The Conjuring, which is loosely based on the true story of the haunting in Harrisville, Rhode Island. She is the evil spectre of an 1800s devil worshipper and witch. An interesting fact before we begin, despite being a female, she was portrayed by Joseph Becerra, who also played the lipstick-faced demon in Insidious and the demon in the prequel film Annabelle. Bathsheba is a malevolent, sadistic, and murderous demon who haunts the Perron household. She is bloodthirsty, unsympathetic, remorseless, and uncaring and cruel. Along the way, she possesses the mother of the Perron family, turning her against her family and her children. She is vengeful, targeting any family that would take her land, and also the Warrens who attempted to investigate the land, leading to Bathsheba attempting to murder their daughter. Prior to haunting the Perron family, she was an enthusiastic and fanatical follower of Satanism, which led her to sacrifice her own child to Satan and was willing to die for his beliefs. To quote Carolyn and Lorraine in The Conjuring, "How could a mother kill her own child? It was never a child to her. She just used her God-given gift as the ultimate offense against him." Bathsheba claps, stabs, and screams, making her one of the scariest villains in the Conjuring universe. And finally, coming in at number 1, Valak the Nun. To quote Lorraine Warren in The Conjuring 2, "Your name gives me dominion over you, demon, and I do know your name. You are Valak the Defiler, the Profane, the Marquis of Snakes. In the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit, I condemn you back to hell." Valak is the main antagonist of the Conjuring franchise, first appearing as the main antagonist in The Conjuring 2 back in 2016. The film was directed by James Wan and follows Ed and Lorraine Warren as they travel to Britain to assist the Hodgson's family, who are experiencing poltergeist activity at their Enfield council house in 1977, which later became referred to as the Enfield poltergeist, in real life that is. Now, Valak is absolutely horrific and is a very wicked, ruthless, sadistic, cold, and completely despicable demon who appears in the form of a nun. The demon begins to haunt and terrify the Hodgson's family just for its own twisted pleasure. In turn, Valak is feared by the nuns of the Abbey of St. Carter in Romania. It is spiritually oppressive, taunting Lorraine about her faith. On top of that, Valak is shown to be intelligent, calculated, well organized, and a good mastermind, being able to disguise itself as a nun to not be noticed. Valak has also worked alongside other demons, including Annabelle's spirit. In mythology, Valak is known as the Great President of Hell, with over 30 legions at its command. The demon often manifests as an angelically winged boy riding a two-headed dragon, and it possesses the power to find treasures. In the case of the film, Valak's treasure was the vision of Ed Warren being impaled, which it offered to his wife Lorraine as a gift. So sweet.
Coming in at number 5, we've got the Midianites. Okay, so before we get into any Christian, Judaic, or Gnostic demons, we should probably fire some movie demons into the spotlight. We've come so close to talking about this movie so many times, so why not today? Nightbreed is a cult classic that never really hit the big times. Released back in 1990, director Clive Barker didn't get final cut and was disappointed with how it ended up. Years later, a majority of the unused footage was discovered and Scream Factory managed to release a director's cut. Based on Barker's short story Cabal, this is quite the empathetic take on monsters living in a graveyard. At the beginning of the flick, the audience is introduced to some rapid-fire demon craziness, resulting in the impression that these grotesque monsters are evil troublemakers. It soon becomes apparent that they are far from evil, and the so-called good guy psychotherapist is the real madman. The Midianites, even if they have horrid features, are a largely peaceful race of monsters. They live on their own beneath the cemetery. Midian has its own unique culture, customs, and laws, and they have no intention on starting any trouble with humans. In fact, humans are the ones who decide they've got a problem with them before launching a full-scale assault, complete with an Albertan militia. Through some wicked mental gymnastics by Dr. Decker, played by David Cronenberg, folks are convinced that the Midianites are the last bastion of evil and must be destroyed. However, once the battle begins, it becomes very clear that all they want to do is live unimpeded. In fact, the entire movie proves how good these beings truly are. They accept Boone into their ranks and even give him a second chance after he breaks their laws. They take good care of their children and do their best to offer all their citizens comfort and supplies in order to live. It just goes to show that humans tend to demonize the other in an attempt to simplify our world when we should be embracing those differences. Maybe just letting the other live in peace is the answer after all. Don't tell the colonies. Coming in at number 4, we've got Amon. Alright, now that I've done my requisite movie talk, let's head into some more mythical demons. We'll start with Amon, Marquis of Hell that governs 40 infernal legions. He's quite the ugly sucker, which might contribute to his bad reputation. According to Johann Weir, who wrote of Amon in the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum, Amon or Amon is a great and mighty marquis, and and cometh abroad in the likeness of a wolf, having a serpent's tail, vomiting flames of fire. When he putteth on the shape of a man, he showeth out dog's teeth, and a great head like a mighty nighthawk. He is the strongest prince of all other, and understandeth of all things past and to come. He procureth favor, and reconcileth both friends and foes, and rule 40 legions of demons. So he's got a wolf body, a serpent's tail, and a raven's head. Nice. Most folks would be afraid of a creature like this, which makes sense. Chimeras of all types tend to freak folks out. However, Amon is a nice guy. He's known for reconciling friends and foes, making the world a better place for all involved. If he were truly evil, he would encourage more discord between people instead of helping them get past it. Amon also procures love for those seeking it, and if that doesn't warm your cold heart, I don't know what would. So if you're feeling lonely, let Amon play Cupid for you. Who knows? Maybe the demon will come back with info on a hunky hunk or babely babe. Just pray it's not a succubus. Coming in at number 3, we've got Lilith. Speaking of succubi who tend to get a bad rap, let's talk about Lilith. Legends say that Lilith was Adam's first wife. She lived with him in Eden for a while, but was expelled for refusing to submit to him. After this, she became a legendary demonic figure, famous for stealing babies and seducing young men. Not the best reputation, I know, but there have been worse. Leave it to history to demonize women who didn't listen to their husbands. Still, after centuries of bad press, it seems like Lilith has turned a corner. Modern scholars seem to have found a different way to interpret this famous sensual seductress. After being created equal to Adam, she didn't enjoy being treated as a lesser being, so she left. In doing so, she opened herself up to a whole lot of slander from all who felt that she needed to be put down. This created all the legends involving her body tendencies and succubal urges. So while she's often portrayed as a baby-snatching demon with a huge personality, it's more likely that she's just someone who decided to force her independence before that was socially acceptable. No wonder so many witches and feminists look up to her. Coming in at number 2, we've got Gop. Alright, I'm gonna catch some flack from some of our more old-fashioned viewers on this one, but hear me out. Gop is a demon prince in human form who incites love. Classic. Love is good in the world. But in some readings, he provides further services which may or may not be interpreted as good by some in our modern society. He provides medical care for women, which is fantastic, but he's also known for transforming women to make it easier to get a lover and also renders them infertile. So they can find lovers more easily and will not have any accidental babies. Of course, if you plan on having kids, this is a bad thing. But kids, in this economy? So depending on your position on these topics, Gop would be really awesome or not that. But add in his powers of philosophy and liberal arts, and you've got a pretty wicked college professor. Gop is known for teaching these topics, making people invisible, stealing familiars from magicians, making men stupid, and carrying people quickly over long distances. I'd say these are all top-notch powers, especially the making men stupid part. I feel like I'd be a whole lot happier if I just didn't think so goddamn much, but maybe that's just me. To conclude, Gop, even though he looks like a pretty classic horned winged demon, isn't actually all that terrifying. And finally, at number 1, we've got Bile. If you ever saw Bile, you'd freak out. He is a spider-esque creature with the heads of a cat, frog, and man all on full display. Or at least that's how he appears in the Dictionary Infernal. Either way, he's described as a combination of the 3 creatures. This kind of appearance would cause anyone to freeze up, but don't worry too much. He's also able to make folks invisible, which has plenty of utility. Of course, being invisible isn't too useful for doing good deeds, but I suppose that choice falls upon whoever invoked this odd demon. A more utilitarian power comes in the form of making people wise, and let's be honest, this is a much needed skill these days. Both of these powers are stronger in October too, so you know he's a Halloween fiend. I'm not sure if that makes him less scary or more scary, but anyone who loves October is a friend of mine. Right on. Hopefully I opened your eyes to some less terrifying aspects of some well-known demons. Kinda makes me want to summon a few, but man, I got work in the morning.
Coming in at number 5, we have Azazel from Fallen. Azazel is a fallen angel whose evil influence led to the total corruption of humanity. Isn't that fun? Due to being the leader among the fallen angels, the Jewish Book of Enoch commands its readers to ascribe all sin to him. His description has varied throughout history, with him originally being one of heaven's angels, a gloriously beautiful man with wings on his back. However, when he was cast down to earth and became fallen, his beauty became corrupted, in turn taking on a demonic appearance. Once cast down to earth, he became a leader of the Grigori, a group of angels who married mortal women and produced a line of monstrous children. He then began teaching evil to humans, teaching mankind of warfare and the art of deception, before finally teaching us about witchcraft. Now, Azazel has had a big screen appearance in the 1998 crime drama Fallen, which follows homicide detective John Hobbs, who witnesses the execution of serial killer Edgar Reese. However, soon after the execution, the killings begin happening again. In the movie, Azazel evilly outwits Denzel Washington's character, with it being revealed that Azazel's true power is being able to jump from host to host with a passing touch. Coming in at number 4, we have Beelzebub. Beelzebub is a Semitic deity that was worshipped in the Philistine city of Ekron. He is often linked with Satan by Christians. In demonology, he is one of the 7 princes of the underworld. In Christian writings, the name Beelzebub appears as an alternate name to Satan, and like I said, is commonly described as a placed higher in the underworld's hierarchy. According to occultist Johannes Wierus, Beelzebub is the chief lieutenant of Lucifer, the emperor of the underworld, and presides over the Order of the Fly. Now, throughout history, there have been confirmed reports of Beelzebub here on Earth, with one of the last hailing from France. It began in the early 1600s when a young nun called Madeleine began having fits, shouting obscenities and making claims she had engaged in lewd sexual acts with demons and witches. It was ultimately decided that she was possessed by none other than Satan himself, aka Beelzebub. The possession only worsened from there, with them being forced to bring in Sebastian Michele, the local Grand Inquisitor, to aid in an exorcism. Coming in at number 3, we have Payment from Hereditary. Payment is a spirit named in the Lesser Key of Solomon and is one of the kings of Kinistan, more obedient to Lucifer than most others, and has 200 legions of demons under his rule. He is said to have a great voice and roars as soon as he comes, speaking in this manner for a while, until the conjurer compels him, and then he answers the questions he has been asked. Payment teaches all arts, philosophy and sciences, and secret things. He can reveal all mysteries of the earth, wind and water, what the mind is, and everything in between. However, although what he may offer is knowledge, this does not make him good. His depiction in the Ari Aster movie Hereditary should have taught us this. He is a duplicitous demon and perhaps one of the most devastating entities found in modern horror. In Hereditary, Payment is summoned as a cult ritual by the deceased mother of Annie, played by Toni Collette, who is then forced to protect her family from Payment's persuasions. The evil demon first targets the daughter Charlie before going after the son Peter, and of course Payment invades the body. He commits unspeakable horrors that horror cinema hasn't been blessed with in a very, very long time. Coming in at number 2, the Cenobites, Hellraiser. To quote the Hell Priest Pinhead, explorers in the furthest regions of experience, demons to some, angels to others. And that is the perfect way to describe the Cenobites from the works of Clive Barker. The Cenobites are extra-dimensional beings who appear in Barker's works such as The Hellbound Heart, The Scarlet Gospels, and the 9 Hellraiser movies. It is said that they can only reach Earth's reality through a schism in time and space, which is opened and closed using certain unearthly artifacts, one of course being the puzzle box called the Lament Configuration. To quote Clive Barker in The Hellbound Heart, why then was he so distressed to set eyes upon them? Was it the scars that covered every inch of their bodies, the flesh cosmetically punctured and sliced and infibulated, then dusted down with ash? Was it the smell of vanilla they brought with them, the sweetness of which did little to disguise the stench beneath? Or was it as the light grew and he scanned them more closely, he saw nothing of joy or even humanity in their maimed faces, only desperation and an appetite that made his bowels ache to be voided? The Cenobites all have horrific mutilations and or body piercings, and wear fetishistic black leather that often resembles butchery garments or religious vestments. Now, aside from their grotesque physical depictions, the Cenobites are terrifyingly potent. They come from a disturbing labyrinth where sadomasochism and torture rule. Their ultimate goal is to drag the victims who open the special puzzle box back to their violent netherworld to suffer endless torture. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Pazuzu, the Exorcist. In ancient Mesopotamian religion, Pazuzu was the king of the demons of the wind, brother of Humbaba and son of the god Hambi. He also represented the southwestern wind, the bearer of storms and drought. Now, although Pazuzu is himself considered to be an evil spirit, he drives and frightens away other evil spirits, therefore protecting humans against plagues and misfortunes. However, don't get your hopes up because this dude is straight up evil. He was, of course, the evil spirit that possessed a young Reagan McNeil in the 1970 1971 novel The Exorcist, as well as the subsequent movie. In the movie, Pazuzu is both named as the demon antagonist of Regan and the unwitting helper of Father Philip Lamont, as he seeks to free Regan from the demon's grip. It should be said that no cinematic demon has ever been more potent or terrifying than that of Pazuzu, aside from maybe the red tongue-licking demon in Insidious. Not a fan of that one, not a fan at all. Now in The Exorcist, Pazuzu finds its way to the US after being discovered during an archaeological dig in the Middle East. There it infiltrates the body of Regan, with the intention of subsuming her soul. Lovely stuff, isn't it? Pazuzu in turn makes Regan commit some unspeakable acts, such as stabbing herself with a crucifix in areas that we won't mention here, and of course attacking her own mother, before aggressively vomiting up green pea soup. And then of course the infamous scene of Regan spinning her head 180 degrees. What a lovely sight. This 1973 Best Picture winner is still one of the highest grossing films ever made. However, saying that, it is best to steer clear of Pazuzu. There's no need to invoke him, especially not in the middle of the night in front of your mirror. Just cover that thing with a sheet.
Almighty Lord, Word of God the Father, Jesus Christ, God the Lord of all creation, gave to your holy apostles the power to tramp underfoot serpents and scorpions.
Coming in at number 5, we have Shadow Dog. One Reddit user told the story of a contact she had with a demon when she was younger. Her parents had just divorced when she was a teenager. She decided that she would live with her mother in her new home. As soon as she moved in, she started to experience some paranormal activity. It started small. She'd be reading her books on her bed when she suddenly felt an icy chill take over her. Then she would feel like she was being watched by an entity that hated her, but obviously there was no one else in the room. She said when she felt this, she would leave her house and go for a walk for more than an hour. Usually by this time the feeling had passed. She then started to see shadows behind her, like there was someone stood in the room with her. This started to get worse when she would see the shadows move around her bedroom walls. They were getting bolder in their contact with her. The demon then started to imitate their family dog. She thinks this might have been a way to trick her into making a physical connection with the demon, allowing it to take full possession. The demon would make a growling noise from under her bed, like her dog was in need of help. The dog had refused to enter the room for months at this point, so she was not fooled by the demon. After this, she could not stay there anymore, with the demon becoming bolder and increasingly active. She moved in with her father and she never experienced anything paranormal again. I do appreciate that she was like, screw you mum, I'm leaving, you stay with the dog in this haunted house. Mother's probably gone now, R.I.P. Demon got her. In at number 4 we have texting the devil. Demons could choose any form of communication with the living. They are not bound by our laws of reality. Sometimes they choose possession, others will only talk through a medium or Ouija board. But still, one priest claims he is being contacted by a demon via text messages. Father Marian Rachel, a priest from Poland, claims that a demon from a failed exorcism is now harassing him. He attempted to perform the exorcism on a teenage girl but unfortunately was unsuccessful. He believed the devil is using this teenage girl to mock his failed attempt via these text messages. One of the messages that he received from the demon was, I quote, "She will not come out of this hell. She's mine. Anyone who prays for her will perish." The priest responded to this that the young girl is clearly still possessed and needs further help. The Catholic Church took this extremely seriously. Although there were some doubters, the majority of the community was extremely concerned about this young girl and her behavior since the possession began. The family of the girl cooperated fully with the church to try and save their sick daughter. They brought her back in for a second exorcism. This one seems to have been successful as far as they're aware. The priest did comment that he received a threatening message after the girl was saved from the demon. They threatened that the two would meet again and he would not be able to save himself next time. The priest, however, remains confident he has rid the world of this demon. He was calm and confident about the whole thing. I don't think I would enjoy texting with the devil. To be honest, I think it's probably the girl playing a little Halloween trick. Coming in at number 3 we have Dark Letter. Back when letter writing was still a thing that was commonly done, it was used by demons to leave messages with the living. Over 300 years ago in Sicily at the convent at Palma di Montechiero, a nun named Sister Maria Crocifissa claimed that she had been possessed by the devil. The story of what happened to her has finally been told and her letter has finally been translated. The story is told that one morning in 1676, sister Maria woke up and found herself covered in ink. She had no memory of it, but had spent the night writing letters. Others in the convent had heard disturbances from her room during the night. Some had heard screaming. One said they heard a thud as if she was fainting and hit the floor. Maria had lived at the convent since she was 15 years old. She was devoted to them and had never showed signs of possession or doubt before this incident. The letters explained that Maria was writing on behalf of the devil. He was dictating the words she wrote. The letter said it was Lucifer's plan to possess Maria and turn her against God so she could serve evil. A lot of the letters were coded in hidden messages of symbols and shapes, and they had no way to translate it at the time. Today, some of the letters are still intact, and the Ludum Science Center in Italy attempted to finally decode a portion of the text. The software is reportedly used by intelligence agencies for code breaking. They gave the machine the understanding of Greek, Arabic, the runic alphabet, and Latin. This revealed that the text really was devilish. It described God as a deadweight. It went on to say God could not free mortals from their fate. There is also a reference made within the writing to the river Styx, which in Greek mythology is said to separate the realm of the living from the underworld. The church was trying to disprove that the nun was ever possessed. If anything, decoding the letter proved the opposite. Maria seems to have been very lucky that the possession didn't go further. In at number 2 we have Singapore Doll. We all know that demons have an attachment to creepy dolls. There are so many stories of dolls coming to life and terrorizing families. For one unlucky neighborhood in Singapore, an old doll appeared and started to terrorize those who took it home. One Twitter user told the story to her followers as a warning. The doll first appeared leaning against a tree on a busy residential street. The doll was small and looked like an antique. Her arms were bound to her body with string, and she had a cloth across her eyes with Arabic text written across it. The girl brought the doll home and unbound her while also removing her blindfold. She said not long after bringing the doll home, she noticed that it would move around the home when left alone. She also said that she would hear it talking to itself when she left the room. It was clear to her that the doll was possessed. It soon made sense why it was bound when she found it. Although she did not know the doll's backstory, it seems the previous owner has a similar experience. She threw the doll away hoping to stop the demon from being in her home. However, when she returned, the doll was back home. It knew how to return to her home and was refusing to leave. She decided to try and bind the doll as she found it. She drove far away from her home and left the doll. Seems that the doll had been continuing this cycle. When you find and untie the doll, the demon and curse transfers to you. The owner saw someone post about finding the doll after she had left it. She saw that it had been untied and posted, "We bind it for a reason, stupid people, unbind it. It looks unhappy. Good luck to whoever did it." Her account has since been deleted, so she couldn't be tracked down for questions or for them to attempt to return the doll. The doll's current location is unknown, but its existence is now well known in the area. There have been discussions and crimes happening in the locations where the doll has been seen. Crimes that have never happened in these areas. The doll seems to communicate with other demons while alone and then whispers to its new owner when given the chance. Some suggested the doll be burned or crushed, but it is unclear if this would work. Surely someone has already tried this at some point. And finally, in at number 1 we have imaginary friend. Sometimes children have imaginary friends and we don't think anything of it, but what if their friend isn't so imaginary? One little girl from Texas named Madison had many imaginary friends when she was younger. All of her imaginary friends came as a pair. When she was 3 years old, she started to talk about a new friend. Her mother, Kelly, found this strange, as this friend came around by themselves. Her new friend was called Kellum. She described him as a man around the age of 40. She said she saw him as a father figure. She started to spend a lot of her time playing with him rather than her other imaginary friends. She would build her blocks into a tower and knock them over as it made him laugh. The mother was keeping an eye on her with this latest friend, but was not concerned, until she started to sing an old song. At the time, she didn't know how old the song was. Madison would sing the song all of the time. Her mother asked the nanny where the song is from, thinking she taught her it. She wanted to sing it with her to develop her language skills, but the nanny had never heard the song before. She had no idea where it was from. They looked into it everywhere until they finally found it online and realized it was an old song. It was released in 1892. No one in their life would be familiar with this song. She asked Madison who taught her the song. She said Kellum taught her. He sings it to his child. This shocked Kelly. This imaginary friend has an imaginary baby and he is teaching her real songs. She could not find an explanation for it. Things quickly began to get worse. Maybe Kellum had been watching Kelly figuring out he is more than an imaginary friend, but maybe he was an entity communicating with her daughter. One night Madison woke up screaming. When she was older, she told the story that Kellum was grabbing onto her arm, pulling on her. He was getting angry and frustrated that she did not want to stay up and play. She kicked him away and tried to flee the room. She was screaming as she tried to climb the baby gate. Kelly was woken up by the screaming and ran and grabbed Madison as she cried for help. Kelly looked back to the room where the curtains were blowing like there was a great wind in the room, but the windows were all closed. They fled their home. Safely relocated at their friend's home, Kelly called her stepfather, who was a pastor. He did not believe in demons, and if she had come to him sooner, the community might have labeled her a sinner for inviting this entity into her home, but she was desperate. Her stepfather told her to stay away from the home till he was done. He called her the next morning saying it was safe to return. When she got home, holy oil had been used all over the house to protect them. They both said it felt peaceful when they re-entered their home. Madison never saw any of her imaginary friends again. Now she is older and able to reflect on it. She feels the demon was talking to her, telling her stories and attempting to get her to behave badly.